Chris with Cycle Source Magazine, Grease and Gears Garage, and we're in the garage today doing some work on the garage. This is something a lot of you guys will understand, and it's caused me to come up with a new name for Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight Tool Company is a great resource, so don't get me wrong when I say this, but because of things like this, I'm considering changing the name to the Downpayment Tool Company, because today we're going to be working on the Harbor Freight sandblast cabinet, and you can get these for around $200 from Harbor Freight, but it's actually not what you're paying for it. You're paying $200 as a down payment for a good sandblast cabinet. Once you put about another $400 into it, it'll perform the way that you want it to. So that's what we're going to go through today. Namely, one of the big changes we're going to do right off of the bat is this is the system that comes with your Harbor Freight blast cabinet. It's a traditional pickup tube, so this goes down into the sand. The sand is sucked up from the pressure of the air into the gun. The whole thing ends up being kind of, you know, rough to move around inside the cabinet. In place of that, and a better system, we're going to switch over to this metering valve. This will actually go on the trap door on the bottom of the cabinet. It lets you meter in some air, so it makes it more efficient. It brings the sand up from the bottom, so you don't have to sit there and keep poking the hose the whole time you're sandblasting. Plus, it brings the hose in from the side. It's going to be a little nicer, and supposedly a night and day difference for your cabinet. We have a dryer from Harbor Freight that we're going to put on that. Our air delivery system, we decided to go with a little pigtail to make it kind of easier. From the good people at Eastwood, we decided at the same time that we'll put a little foot pedal actuator so that you don't have to sit there, you know, either with air on the whole time or working a switch or a trigger or anything. Yeah, the whole deal, like I said, around $400 or so, depending on what you're going to do. We started off with a cabinet light upgrade, and I'm going to show you guys that real quick. But basically what we did is your standard spotlight kit, we bought one, took one side of it off, you know, little electric box, switch. It's going to run the vacuum cleaner and the whole deal from there. We found that by going with the Dust Deputy, which you'll see over there, and the Dust Deputy was around 60 bucks, I think. It's not as fancy looking, but it let us buy a proper shop vac that we got that has 135 CFM. So much stronger vacuum. The Dust Deputy is supposed to work like a charm. The dust enters and all the sand falls down, collects your reusable sand. The air then goes on to the vacuum cleaner. You don't get any sand into the filter and into the motor of the vacuum cleaner. It's supposed to extend the life for it. So we'll go through this with you guys real quick, and then in the end, we'll give Heather's sandblasting cabinet back to her and she can take it for a test drive. So come on. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is make the allowance in our trap door on the Harbor Freight cabinet. Oh, nice. So again, in the spirit of transparency, last night I had this collection of hodgepodge washers, different sizes, to take up the space that I needed here. And the truth was they were a little too big. I went to the store today and couldn't find exactly the washers I needed. This is the only kind of a pain in the ass because I'm lucky enough to have a lathe and a boring bar, so I chucked these up in the lathe. I turned the centers out a little bit until they fit right. That may be the only hard thing for you, is finding good washers for that, but that was my solution. Maybe you know an old guy down the street with a lathe, hook that up. But this is our trap door now with the metering valve installed. We have our fitting on the end to accept the hose, and we're going to put this back on the cabinet and get it ready for accepting the feed hose. We know where our dryer is going to sit. We've cut lengths of our hose. We've already run all of our Teflon tape. We can get all this stuff together. Basically live at the base of this all the time. So this is going to be a kind of a neat thing. Like I said, we switched this over from a standard airline so that once this comes through the body of the cabinet, we'll have a pigtail on the inside, give you a little bit more flexibility. Airline that comes off of the foot pedal, it's going to come up here like this. Now here's a neat trick. Very nice. So we're going to go ahead and get our gun mounted on the end of the pigtail. There, now we got that. Yeah, buddy. And we are one line away from having a working cabinet. We have our 3/4 inch hole saw, our corresponding grommet. We're going to go over to the cabinet with our center punch and our cutting oil. Right around in here is directly in line with our feed tube. Okay, so the dust deputy. This is fairly simple. We're going to use a hole saw, drill through the top of our Lowe's bucket. They provide you with a little gasket. Okay, so with that, our dust deputy is firmly mounted to the top of our $3.49 Lowe's bucket. And this, I'm told, is the awesome system for deputizing your dust. Okay, so now that we have this all together, we're going to take some parts and give our sandblast cabinet a try. I got some bars for the flying pistons bike that we're getting ready to go out to powder coat. So we're going to run those through this thing and see. Really nice. This cabinet, like now, especially with the dust collecting system and the separator and everything, you can see as we're using this inside, it stays nice and visible. Our new spotlight is giving us more visibility. The dust is all getting sucked out of the cabinet, which keeps that nice and, you know, makes everything work better. You can see here Heather is really enjoying herself. This is her station whenever we're building bikes. She's the chief coordinator of the blast cabinet, so it's all up to her specs. We're good to go. Okay, so that's going to complete our upgrade on the Downpayment Tool Company blast cabinet, or Harbor Freight as everybody calls it. But in all seriousness, talking about this from a garage builder's perspective, most guys, if you buy this thing for $200, it's a great piece of equipment, especially if you're only going to use it a couple times a year. This is going to be fine just the way it is. If you find yourself using it more than that couple times, spending the $400 absolutely will make this a night and day tool, like completely different tool, completely, like, totally good for our shop. Love this cabinet now. If you end up using it more than that or want larger capacity, you want to put bigger stuff in here, then you're going to have to go from the about $600 that we have invested in this now. You're going to want to move up to like a TP Tools, but those things are around $1,200. So depends on where you're at and how much you're actually using it, or if you have the extra dough. One of the nicest things that we found, and Heather's going to show you this while I'm talking about it, but the Dust Deputy was a very, very nice upgrade for low money. You can see on the other side of our shelving here, we've kind of tucked away our shop vac and the Dust Deputy system, and as this thing is running, man, it just keeps the visibility so nice. And it actually works exactly like they say that it does. It creates a little cyclone inside the deputy, and the clean air moves on to the vacuum cleaner, and the sand drops down into the bucket, and you can reuse the sand. So for the money we spent on that, it was absolutely fantastic. Thanks to all the companies that helped us out with this. And I guess until next time, get out in the shop and do something. I'm Chris from Cycle Source Magazine, and this has been Greasing Gears Garage.